ekam aksharam hribi nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmatram yaham sakha atmarupe hridivisha manasa swam chimpata machyata avanachalanaro atmanishto deham vindayavat jadatmakam aham buddhirnatasyastyatu aham tattata bhavashukti samaye siddhatma saddha oham bhavayuta kuto varadhiya drishtatmanishtatmana soham spurtikaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhavati swayam soham spurtikaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhavati swayam. Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to read two verses selected for us from the work Guruvachaka Kovai by Muruganar Swamigal. Each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that shall be followed by a 10-minute practice of self-enquiry. After these two segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and the practice of Atma Vicharam are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Shri Venkatesh Deshpande ji, and that shall be followed by the offering of Sri Ramanacentre. The puja team is still away, so the verbal offering shall be by Vaibhavji and Pratnama. online, and we shall inquire during that time as to who is the listener. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we begin this evening's satsang by going to verse 104, selected for us. Verse 104 is in the first segment, investigation into truth. There are three segments after the prefatory verses. The first is investigation into truth, the second is meditation, and then the anubhava, experience of the truth. This 104, we find in the investigation into truth, the subheading is the activities of God. The activities of God. 104, in the perspective of those whose attention is externalized, in the perspective of those whose attention is externalized, Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord, who empowered Maya with authority. Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord, who empowered Maya with authority, will appear as if he too is subject to the treacherous authority that the powerful Maya exercises. Will appear as if he too is subject to the treacherous authority that powerful Maya exercises. Muruganar, Ishvara, who empowered Maya, appears to others to be bound and subject to the authority of Maya. If it is asked how, then the answer is that even the eternally liberated and divinely incarnated ones appear to conduct themselves as though they are subordinate to the power of Maya. In truth, there is no bondage for them. Bhagavan, there is a selection from Padamale. The extremely powerful Padam, Ishvara, acts as though he too is under the control of the actions of Shakti that were initiated by him. So it's an area which deals with how we perceive the actions of God. As the subsequent explanations go, a close view of that is available in the behavior of Bhagavan, in the behavior of a liberated one, because they are one with Ishvara Shakti and they have passed on to the silence of the self. Beyond the power of Maya, they have gone to the silence of the self. So the best indication we have how Ishvara will behave or is behaving is in the behavior of the sage. Here, in the perspective of those whose attention is externalized, Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord, who empowered Maya with authority, will appear as if he too is subject to the treacherous authority that the powerful Maya exercises. So the words used are very interesting, that Ishvara only empowers the Maya Shakti. So he is conscious and he is not subject to is what is implied in that sentence, that he only empowers the Maya. Maya is a power of self-attention which is now just gone beyond self-attention, which radiates outside itself. The power of attention, that is self-attention, that is not self-contained, but has gone outside itself, is what is the power of Maya, because that whole area is filled with ignorance of the self. Now, if you take like that, that whole area of creation, it is Ishvara who has empowered it, is the implication of the first sentence. But then how does Ishvara behave? Whenever an avatara comes or a great sage appears, what is the first rule that Bhagavan gives to Amma? If you see, it is that our prarabdha prakaram adarkanavan ஆங்காங்கு இருந்து ஆட்டுவிப்பன் என்றும் நடவாதது என் முயற்சிக்கினும் நடவாது, நடப்பது என் தடை செய்யினும் இல்லாது, இதுவே திண்ணம் ஆகலின் மௌனமாய் இருக்கை நன்று. Now, that very statement implies that Ishvara is giving the rule, that's all. That as per the prarabdha of each, the Ishvara staying within them will release the thoughts, and it is according to that that the happenings take place. Therefore, that which is bound to happen will happen. Even if Ishvara appears as one of the individuals in the world, he also will be subject to the same rules, is what is taken from that. But that as though is very important. As though is very important. Let me try to put some perspective there, that when Rangan, one of Bhagavan's old friends, come devotee, he comes to ashram in one of his regular visits, and it is found in his horoscope, or whatever you call that, that the next year is going to be a year of great trouble. The prarabdha is going to bring very, very difficult situation. Then Bhagavan interestingly says that don't leave the ashram and go, indicating don't leave my sannidhi, stay here only during this period. Then the effects will be lessened. Now, first of all, that he will be allowed to stay in that place irrespective of prarabdha. That is one thing. Then the prarabdha not having an effect on him is another thing. Now, if the Ishvara is actually totally under the control of prarabdha, then such an instruction cannot be given. Such an instruction is outside the scope, because whatever is going to happen is going to happen, isn't it? So, these are the areas where only the sage can understand. In fact, we can go into another area where the fate and free will are discussed. Like it is said that with loving kindness, with words of loving kindness alone, one can bring about change in another. I'll repeat that. With words of loving kindness, it is possible to bring change in another only then. That means, this is a statement from Gandhiji, I think, which I had come across recently, that the words get empowered if there is love and if there is kindness towards the person who is receiving the upadesha or the words. Now, those words become empowered, Gandhiji is saying. Now, what is Gandhiji is saying? That there can be a change in the sensory world if one uses a higher dimension of the love and kindness. Love and kindness obviously are not inside the sensory world, inside the material world, but they come from consciousness. They come from within, where the consciousness subjects itself to the emotional states and brings those good emotions towards the others, that there is compassion, there is kindness, and there is love. When those words are filled with that, Gandhiji says there is a change. Now, how does one take this with Bhagavan's statement that everything happens as per Ishvara's will? Let's just ponder over that, if you permit me. Yeah. Bhagavan's take is that in each of those layers, there is a prarabdha which is fixed by Ishvara's will. That is, Gandhiji is talking of in the sensory world. In the sensory world, he is seeking a change, like he is seeking the change of the attitude of Indians towards getting liberated. Let's take it like that. And he says that any change he is addressing his cadres will come in the listener only when there is love and kindness. If you don't empathize with the listener, that the farmers, the who are working in the land, they hardly are bothered who is going to rule, because their very fundamental needs are not met. They are just bothered whether the next meal is available or not. So first, bring them to the awareness that those very needs could be affected if the rule changes to Indian hands, and tell that with love and kindness, and there will be a change in sensory world, Gandhiji says. Then what is this everything is fixed business? Because Bhagavan takes, if there are other dimensions, in those dimensions also, it is all fixed. That the love, the kindness, the thoughts that you have, everything comes from the Ishvara, who is the one self behind all this and who has enveloped all these areas with his Maya Shakti. So even those layers are all filled by the prarabdha. Now, what kind of life is in those areas, and how much and how less, all this we are not going into. Those planes of existence where the conscious, the jiva is a loving and kind being, those love and kind thoughts are also given by the Ishvara at the right time. Because that is the implication of self-enquiry, that when those thoughts come, you are still there. You can cross that prarabdha also, that you get a loving or kind thought or not, by asking, for whom is this thought? So, when Bhagavan says that Summa irukkai nandru, iduve thinnam, this is certain, therefore the best course is to remain silent. He is not actually binding us. He is not saying we are not free. In fact, on the contrary, he is saying you have the freedom to be completely free of all these levels of prarabdha. That the thought level prarabdha, the emotion level prarabdha, the sensory level prarabdha, all that can be crossed by you if you accept. If you accept that none of them can be altered by me, none of them need be altered by me, they all arise from the Ishvara within. That's when Ganapati Muni asks Bhagavan that should I not do some japa, dhyana for the liberation of India? Bhagavan says Ishvara is the best doer. You do Atma Vichara. At the right time, the Ishvara, according to the prarabdha of all the denizens of all the citizens of India, he will bring about liberation. And in them, in each of them, the right thought, which Gandhiji feels comes out of love and kindness, will be actually affected at the deeper level by the Maya Shakti of Ishvara, is what Bhagavan is saying. That when you are going deeper, don't stop at any of those levels. Then you will feel you have some free will. You can affect a change in the sensory world with love and kindness. But you won't be inquiring that love and kindness is also given by the Ishvara, because he is behind the ego itself. So Bhagavan's teachings doesn't stop at any inner layers of higher dimension. It takes us right to the source, beyond Maya. So that is how Bhagavan says to Rangan that you stay here, the sensory world prarabdha will be averted. That makes sense now. You can understand that such a one who is beyond all prarabdha can assure what Gandhiji has assured. that the chisel is there, the inner chisel is there, and it will be brought about in his life. If that sage wields that chisel, is what it is saying. We have to understand that it is that sensory world is changeable by a chisel used by the Ishvara Shakti, because it is coming from the source. Now, this is a take which has to be understood with lot of surrender to Bhagavan, because many of the saints of today, they also assure that you can create a world for yourself. That's not what is meant here. Even in prayer to the relief of Amma from fever, Bhagavan asks, liberate her, give her jnana, burn her in the jnana agni. Why do you want her body to be burned in this agni, when by burning her in jnana agni, you can give her complete mukti, is the prayer. Now that prayer is different from if somebody asks, I will chisel the world according to my need. That means that person is still caught in Maya. That person is still aiming for a change in a better car or a better house or some more devotees. All these are indicating that their aim is clouded by the Shakti, Maya Shakti. Whereas Bhagavan, even in those whom he is saying stay here, or whom he prays for the change in the sensory world, it is not for something ultimately, it is for bringing them to the ultimate liberation and not making them a postdoctoral fellow or some other higher post which is internal, or some other sensory possessions which are external. That's not the aim here. But this is a very sensitive area of investigation. In self-enquiry, all these differences also vanish. It is very simple. Whenever a thought comes, whether it is of the sensory area, whether it is of the emotions, whether it is of the love, kindness, or anything, don't follow it. Don't follow it and get caught in the prarabdha of that zone. Inquire for whom is this? It will be for me. Who am I? Will take you out of Maya Shakti. The self attention or being still has this incredible power of dismantling Maya, says Bhagavan in spiritual instructions. Every other effort is caught up as part in the Maya because it is done with part of the mind and with breaks. Whereas Summa Iruttal, the being still by holding the eye, is something that can dismantle Maya because Maya depends on the triad of seer seeing seen, knower knowing known, which is dismantled in stillness of the eye. So that's what we are going to sit in for the next 15 minutes. Ujjwalji, you can set the time for us. Oh, it's 10 minutes. Okay. Namo Ramana. Bhagavate Sri Ramana. Namo Ramana. We continue this satsang by taking up the second verse selected for us, verse number 901. This we find in the last segment, experience of the truth. The subsegment is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, proclaiming the nature of the attainment of Shiva Swarupa. Verse 901. The radiance of consciousness bliss, Chidananda. The radiance of consciousness bliss, Chidananda, that blossoms identically as the form of consciousness both within and without, is the primal entity whose nature is the Mauna, that is wholly transcendental bliss, which is ever established, by the Jnanis as the summit of true Jnana that can never be rejected. So the Chidananda, the radiance of Chidananda, is said to be the Shiva Swarupa here. In Ashtakam, Bhagavan says the Shiva or Arunachala is existence consciousness, the radiance of Sat Chit, existence consciousness. Here, the radiance of Chit Ananda, the consciousness bliss, is used. See, the radiance of consciousness bliss, Chidananda, that blossoms identically as the form of consciousness both within and without, is the primal entity whose nature is the Mauna, that is wholly transcendental bliss, and which is established by the Jnanis as the summit of true Jnana that can never be rejected. In our inner journey, the complete Mauna, beyond the Spurana, that is the self. Now, there are two experiences that this Purana gives. This Purana gives the experience of Satchit and the experience of Chidananda. As we go in, the Satchit is where the intellect, without any mind or emotions, is completely one with the source and is now throbbing with the Satchit, with the true consciousness. Now, a little bit of bhakti, of love introduced into that, that becomes healing energy. The same Satchit, which is the energy of tapas, which removes the I am the body idea in all the sadhakas. Even we all sit together in Atma Vicharam, we can feel it is not the individual who is conducting the vichara. The vichara is being conducted by the Satchitta, by the Ishvara himself. So anybody who is conducting self-enquiry cannot feel that he is conducting self-enquiry for 7 people. He is unifying all the participants and taking them to the source. No. But when we are all together participating in the seeking of the source, the sensitivity of the one who is in touch is that we can feel that all the participants are being dragged by the Satchit, by the power of Ishvara towards the source. That is why when we sit in satsang, there will be a better ability to sink in. When all of us sit in, irrespective of time or place, doesn't matter, because as soon as you go 1-2 dimensions in, this time and place is gone. We are more and more unified, and as all of us go towards the self, we can find that the Satchit is pulling us. Now, the experience that I have had is that when we do that, the body loses some energy. The body loses some energy, and that is also felt side by side, that the body loses some energy when this kind of pulling is happening by the Ishvara Shakti. Now, to heal that, to heal the loss of energy, one can allow the Ananda to come in. That the same Spurana, a little bit you relax, that becomes Chidananda, that becomes bliss. So to the one who is conducting, that Chidananda itself heals. During conducting, even 1 hour, 2 hours we sit in the morning, we can feel all that. The thing is, as we become sensitive, we can see how the Ishvara Shakti unifies all of us. So in one sense, the Ishvara Shakti is acting through, but then that is also offered back to the Ishvara Shakti by the one conducting. There is a loss of energy. When this kind of energy, Bhagavan says, when an elephant is tied into a small hut, what will happen to the hut? So when such kind of energy activity is taking place, everybody is being pulled in. And where is that being pulled in? Inside me, inside every one of us. When you sink in, the center is in each one of us. But the more you are identified with the source, the more easily you can feel what's happening. What is happening in this plane. But then whatever is happening, we hold on to the Spurana and keep quiet. Now at some time, the body becomes energyless. Now at that time, what is done, the energy is not drawn from outside, because the sensory world is not the replenishment of that energy. This food is only for the body. For the spirit, the Chidananda, the same Satchit, when you relax a bit, that becomes Chidananda. That's why Bhagavan says, when somebody asks, how do you deal with your illnesses? How do you deal with those things? Bhagavan says, a few minutes of Nirvikalpa Samadhi will heal that. Now, the Nirvikalpa Samadhi has this aspect of Chidananda, that as we practice, the more parichaya we have with Ishvara, the more clearer these things are. That it is the Satchit which pulls everyone, which is the Spurana which pulls everyone. Of course, each one of us has to be turned in. Whatever we have to do, we have to do. But the pulling is done by Satchit. But then, one of us, if it is conducting and we are able to feel the entire pulling in happening here, there may be bodily energy loss or feeling of the stress there. How is that stress relieved? It is by just taking the Chidananda part of Ishvara. Just relax and take. Like that energy loss is gone, you are back to Satchit. At the exact time when the alarm has to go, a few seconds before that, what this Purana does to all of us and how it goes to silence, we can actually feel. And I feel as the participants become more and more sensitive and dealing from the identity with the body, each one of us will be able to feel the happening in the satsang. So the Chidananda is very much inside us. The more you are related to the pure self and to the Spurana, you understand how the healing is done to the spirit. Because actually, this job pulling everyone, it is like the elephant tied into a hut. So there is a stress. How is that stress overcome? That stress is overcome not by taking food or water. That stress is overcome by the Chidananda Swarupa. That is what is called as the consciousness bliss it is. It is Ananda. That was what was mistakenly superimposed on the objects. We felt this gave us Ananda or that gave us Ananda. But as you find the Chidananda inside, these whole dimensions they lose their value. One understands that the energy loss in the jiva is replenished by Chidananda, and the jiva is identified with Chidananda, and very quickly it is shifted to Satchit. And exactly when we have to stop, the Satchit also will stop. That, like the light in the camp for Bhagavan says, we can feel that now it has become complete silence. The oneness of Bhagavan, that Bhagavan alone is that silence beyond even the Chidananda and the Satchit, both of which are powers, healing power and freeing power, Mukti Data, Ananda Data. The Ananda is freedom from doership. That's why the great devotees you will find, everything I find as Krishna, as Rama, they are only doing everything. They're always there. Their feeling is of Ananda, Ananda, Ananda. The power to remove the I am the body identity comes with the Satchit, which is just this Purana, and that too is silent in the self. Let us sit in Atma Ucharam. As each thought comes, just let it go. Don't worry about these things. One thought comes, let it go, ask for whom it is, and hold the I. It will be for me. Who am I? Chidananda is bound to reveal itself. Satchit is bound to reveal itself. We have extended the self-enquiry by 5 minutes in the last time. So let us sit for 10 minutes now. I'll set the time for 8 o'clock when I request Venkatesh to take over. You can start at 8 o'clock, sir. We'll practice till 8 o'clock. It's 7:50. We can sit in self-enquiry till 8. Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana. Namo Ramana. May I request Venkatesh ji to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo Ramana. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Can you hear me clearly? Wonderful.
There is some. Yeah, continue, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, you can put a. Oh. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Dhyanamoolam Guror Murti, Pujamoolam Guror Padam, Mantramoolam Vakyam, Mokshamoolam Guror Kripah. Mokshamoolam Guror. Namo Ramana. So let us compare the first verse, first and second verse. Let's compare this to a magic show. So you go to the town hall in Bangalore for a PC Sarkar. Many of you must have gone for a PC Sarkar, magic show. So the town hall has about 300, 400 people who go and sit inside a PC Sarkar show. So PC Sarkar comes onto the stage. Then what happens? He has a field of influence. He knows that there are 300 and 400 people sitting who are listening to him and who want to see magic. So what do they do? What happens? He does some, physical movements and he talks through the mic, and suddenly you find five people in the audience who all got mesmerized. They are in a state of, um, uh, you know, they're mesmerized. So they don't have any control. So they lift one of those bodies and bring it onto the stage. Then what happens? People wonder, wow, they all start clapping. And then, he does some more magic. And then suddenly this person comes back to normal and he or she walks back to his seat. Then what happens? That same PC Sarkar, he will say, I'm going to go through a maze. When he's going through the maze, then all the people who are sitting in the thing wonder, they're holding their breath. They're saying that this man should not do this. He will surely, he lose his hands if he does this magic, because there's a knife which is sitting out there. If he makes the wrong move, the knife will come and cut his hand. So what happens? What is happening at that point? Now, there are two types of people. There are person who knows the magic and the one who does not know the magic. So what has happened? So first of all, you have come into this audience. So you are obviously left the self. You are in the mind space and you are trying to see a magic. Now you're seeing the magic. Now what happens? He gets into that chamber and he's going to do something, and he has a certain amount of time to come out of the chamber, otherwise his hand will get chopped off. So what happens? Everybody is wonderstruck and wondering what's going to happen. And at that same time, he comes out and everybody is clapping. But there is some people some people are not clapping. The people who are sitting in the audience are clapping, wondering, wonderful. Hey, that fellow was also, we didn't know how to actually do this magic, but for us, he took this extreme step of trying this magic in front of us, and he has come out successfully. Oh, wonderful! Bravo, bravo! Everybody is clapping. But there's somebody who knows who does not clap. Who is he? He is the fellow who is with the magician. He is the guy who's the helper. Does the helper also clap his hand? The helper does not clap his hand. Why? Because he knows, and the other guys, the 300, 400 people, do not know. So that's the difference. So what happens? He will not clap his hand. Why? Because he knows that this magic that his boss has done is just a temporary thing. It is actually, it's only an illusion. It is just on the mind that this thing is happening. But actually, the person who is actually it's like the jnana, the person who is with the magician or the magician are in jnana, because they know that it is all false. There is no truth, absolutely no truth to the magic. But the people who are watching this magic believe that this is all true. So exactly Bhagavan is trying to tell us the same thing, that you were always that, you were always that Satchidananda Atman, but you came for this magic show and you got mesmerized and you thought all this that you're seeing is true. But PC Sarkar, who was always conducting the magic, knew for certain is that this is all not true. It's, first of all, he knew that the magic which he was doing is just a superimposition on the mind, and he's going to trick you with that. But at a core level, he also knew that you are also that same Satchidananda Atman. You are, as much as he is a normal human being, conscious about himself, all the 300, 400 people are also conscious about themselves. But for some time, they're forgotten, and for 1 or 2 hours they are getting mesmerized and they're watching this magic show. And the problem is that the audience believe that this magic show is true, and they think that PC Sarkar is also attached. PC Sarkar is not attached. It's like Bhagwan is not attached to what's happening all around, but the audience think, oh, the PC Sarkar is also attached. No. So that's what Bhagwan is trying to tell us. This, whatever this world that we are seeing is just a superimposition on the mind. Don't get carried away. You are that Satchidananda. If you do self-enquiry and attach yourself to that self, be like that man. Be like the assistant of PC Sarkar, or be the assistant of God. When you be the assistant of God, you know with certainty, you are in jnana yourself, that this is just a superimposition. There's absolutely no reality to it. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. May I request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to do the Ashtotram chanting? We will all sit in self-inquiry and inquire as to who is the listener. Namo Ramana, Vaibhavji and Pratnama.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्विमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीन मानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूडिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलऋद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेश्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादजसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन सात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋक्षान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाबन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः नित्यार्जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशास्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निःश्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासेकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नमैदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Thank you, Vaibhavji. Thank you, Pratnama. Thank you, Venkatesh ji. Thank you, Ujjwal ji.
Namo Ramana, thank you.
Namo Ramana to all.